I'm going to guess this comes from somebody who may live in the Westwood View district. It starts out that Westwood View Elementary has been on the chopping block a number of times in the past, and an issue of great concern for parents in Northeast Johnson County. We've also seen Indian Hills numbers increase dramatically with the closure of the Mission Valley Middle School, even though Mission Valley received a state-of-the-art remodel shortly before it shut down. Can you describe your philosophy regarding both the past and potential future school closings, and include in that comment your view of community engagement, ideal community engagement surrounding an issue that's this volatile?
So the first interaction I had with the school board was about 2 years ago when our local elementary school, John Deemer, had a plumbing issue. There's a leak in the cooling system. It was 100 degrees or whatever, so they closed the school down. And in a matter of course of a day, in the course of days, the superintendent decided that we needed to close the school. I don't mean to repair it, I mean that we needed to close it. We needed to move those 300 students about 1.5 miles over to Trailwood Elementary School. And the board was going to vote on this. They had a public hearing and have a vote on it just a couple days later. So I met with the superintendent, I talked to my board member, and I talked to the principals, and there had been no thought or consideration into how this was going to play out. And you'd ask simple things about, well, 700 kids, where do they fit? I mean, you divide by 30, the largest class size you could ever have. There aren't enough classrooms for these. Where are you going to have art, and where are you going to have music, and how are you going to do lunch? I mean, you just throw lunch at 10 in the morning. How do you logistically do this? And there had been no thought to it, no planning, no vision on how do you execute this plan. So we had about 700 people show up to me in the community, that not just people with kids, but retired people, and they had a voice, and they said, this isn't how you treat our community, this isn't how you treat our teachers, this is not what we want. So the board voted not to do that. They solicited bids. It was, I think it's $107,000 to make the repair. Specific to Westwood View, I'm against that. I'm against this idea, the path that we're on of creating mega schools where you have 600-700 kids ultimately in an elementary school. That is not how kids from an economically diverse or troubled area, that's not the environment they learn in. So before we ever closed any other school, I'd make sure that we had closed or shuttered all of the buildings that we currently have, the administration, the warehousing, Indian Creek Technology Center, all those things before we ever did anything that affected a child.
Thank you. Actually, John Deemer, and I was at those meetings, John Deemer had an issue with the plumbing and the heating, and it came down to piping that wasn't available at the time. When that occurred, I know that our O&M department looked into, was it feasible to repair it, and were the parts available? Because of safety for children, that decision was a possibility, because safety is the first line of defense. Actually, John Deemer was kept open because we were able to identify an efficient way to replace the rotted heating and cooling piping in the building, and also because we were able to guarantee the building issues would be repaired by the start of the next school year. This was not a, here's an instant plan, this is what we're going to do, there is no planning. There was planning, and it was based on the availability of the equipment to open that school properly in a safe environment. We appreciate and always include our community when we look at school closings. It's always traumatic. Many of our buildings have been here, I mean, Shawnee Mission North is 85 plus years. But we have to be efficient, and we have to look at safety, and we have to look at the value of the building if it were replaced. If the cost to bring it up to standards is over 70%, it's worth building a new building. So there are more things to look at than, oh, it's a slap decision. That was not a quick decision. And so I would refute that, what Mark has just said.
The board was set to have discussions to close the building without having solicited any bids from any mechanical operators on what it was going to take to repair it. They'd given estimates to the people in the public that it'd be up to $350,000. When the 700 people showed up and they saw that they couldn't close it, they sought a bid. It was $107,000. The contractor said they could start in 2 weeks. They were done in 3 weeks, and it was done. So it's just one story, and we can talk about many others. The question was about school closings. I'm against mega schools. I'm against putting 600-700 kids together in an elementary environment and expecting that they're going to do the same in a smaller setting. That's my position.
We would love to have smaller schools, but in reality, our schools are functioning very well as they are currently staffed. Smaller classrooms would be lovely. All of the board members would like to have that. But again, I'm going to go back and give you some really quick figures here. As far as schools are concerned, and I'll read an example here, to restore a library and media purchases that I know that my opponent has talked about, that would cost us over $1 million a year. To place counselors and social workers deployed for most needed in growing title schools, that would cost $1 million a year. There are, to put IB program in all of our schools, it costs $108,000 in one school, 2 schools $216,000, and that doesn't include benefits training, which has to be done out of the state. We in Shawnee Mission have to be physically responsible.
So are you committing that for only $108,000,
No, I'm giving that as an example.
that all 5 high schools can have the IB program for $108,000?
No, that's not what I said. I said for each school.
That's what I'm saying, for each school.
That doesn't include the training or anything else that goes with it. That right there is almost $500,000 just to start it in 2 more schools.
All right.
So you just use your follow-up for the next.